Imagine this. You're sipping coffee inside your home on a peaceful afternoon, when suddenly you hear a scream that shatters your soul. You run outside and find your disabled daughter lying motionless on the concrete. And who did it? Not a stranger, not a criminal, but your HOA president, Karen. Yes, this isn't a nightmare from a horror movie. This is what I lived through. I never imagined I'd go from being a devoted parent to fighting the most twisted battle of my life, against a woman drunk on power, a community gripped by fear, and a system designed to ignore us. Stay with me, because what happened next will shake you to your core. Before we dive in, you're watching the Unshed Stories, where silence ends and justice begins. If you believe in standing up for the voiceless, hit that subscribe, like, and share button, because this story is just the beginning. Life with Emily was never easy, but it was beautiful. She was born with cerebral palsy, limited mobility, but limitless love. Our days were filled with therapy sessions, laughter, struggle, and hope. And then came Karen. At first, she was just the HOA president. You know the type, nose in everyone's business, always demanding conformity, obsessed with order. She would nitpick over mailbox paint or grass height like the world depended on it. I never thought she'd turn her attention to us, but she did. And what started as a minor fence dispute turned into a personal war. One where she targeted the most vulnerable person in my life, my daughter. It began with a fence. A simple misunderstanding. Our wooden panels were a few inches taller than the HOA allowed. I offered to fix it. I apologized. I asked for time. But Karen didn't want compliance. She wanted control. She showed up unannounced, insulted me, mocked Emily. Once, she stood at our driveway and whispered something vile under her breath about my daughter needing to be locked away. I froze. My heart raced. Who says that about a child? About anyone? Emily was too innocent to understand, but I wasn't. I saw the hate in Karen's eyes. It wasn't about rules anymore. It was personal. It was evil. Over the next few weeks, Karen escalated. Late-night knocks, anonymous complaints, HOA citations for things that didn't exist. She began spreading lies, that we were dangerous, that Emily was a threat, that we didn't belong. Neighbors turned cold. No one wanted to get on Karen's bad side. But I refused to bow. This was my home, my child, and no Karen in the world was going to scare us into silence. Then came the final straw. The day I saw her screaming at Emily while she sat on the porch, watching the birds. My disabled daughter, who could barely walk without her braces, being screamed at by a grown woman in broad daylight. I rushed outside. Back off, I shouted. But Karen wasn't done. She looked at me and smiled. A sick, twisted smile I'll never forget. It happened in seconds. Emily was on the rooftop patio that overlooked the backyard, one of her favorite spots. We had set up rails and safety locks. She loved feeling the sun on her face. I was folding laundry just inside. And then I heard a voice. Karen's voice. "You think you're special?" she hissed. "You don't belong here." I dropped everything and ran. But I was too late. Karen pushed my daughter off the rooftop. Time slowed. Emily's scream was the last sound I heard before my heart stopped. Her body hit the ground. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't scream. I just ran. She was alive, barely. Conscious, but in shock. Her face was pale, her body trembling. I cradled her, praying this wasn't real. "Karen?" She walked away. No remorse. No fear. Like nothing happened. Part 5. The fight for justice begins. I went straight to the police. You'd think it would be simple, right? Assault. Attempted murder. A disabled child hurt. But no. "Are you sure she meant to push her?" the officer asked. I couldn't believe it. I begged them to take action. Filed a report. Showed them bruises. Photos. Descriptions. And still, nothing. "She's the HOA president," they said. "She has no prior record." Sounds like a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? My daughter almost died. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was furious. Part 6. Alone against the system. The HOA dismissed me. Neighbors ignored me. Karen walked around the block like a queen, untouched, arrogant, invincible. But I wasn't going to stop. I gathered evidence. Photos, witnesses, camera footage from nearby houses. Most neighbors were too scared to speak, but one, an older woman named Grace, finally stepped forward. She had lived in the neighborhood before Karen took over. She told me about others, families Karen had driven out, threatened, bullied. One woman even had a nervous breakdown. Karen wasn't just an HOA president. She was a predator hiding behind paperwork. And now I had proof that I reached out to the local news. A small station, but they listened. A young journalist named Anna believed me. She interviewed me, verified the story, spoke to Grace, and obtained HOA meeting records that showed Karen had filed dozens of anonymous complaints against our family. The footage aired that night. Karen's face on screen. My daughter's bruises. My voice shaking as I told the world what had happened. The story went viral. The pressure worked. The police reopened the case. Karen was arrested for assault and child endangerment. She cried in court, claimed she was misunderstood, that she tripped and didn't mean to push Emily. But the judge didn't buy it. Neither did the jury. The verdict? Guilty. Karen lost everything. Her title, her home, her reputation. She had spent years controlling others. Now, she couldn't even control her fate. But this story isn't about Karen. It's about Emily. About a little girl who, despite being pushed off a building, stood tall, emotionally and spiritually. Her body healed. Her spirit never broke. She's stronger now, more confident. She knows that monsters exist, but so do heroes. And sometimes the biggest heroes are survivors. This was our story, but it's not the only one. If you've ever been hurt by someone in power, an HOA, a boss, a landlord, know this. You're not alone. Share your story in the comments. Speak out. Let your voice be heard, because silence only helps the monsters. You've been watching the Unshed Stories, where silence ends and justice begins. Backhand index pointing right, like, comment, and subscribe to never miss another real-life horror story that exposes the dark truth behind suburban nightmares. And hit that notification bell, because the next story is even darker. Stay safe, stay loud, and never back down.